Rachael Bird, everyone. Take two. Rachael?
Hi, can you hear me?
Oh, I can hear you. It's so
Yay!
fabulous. I got worried for a minute.
Hi!
So
We're
I was just,
here.
yay. So we were talking about you and about both Some Imagination Creations and Small Kitchen Big Flavor, and just how amazing you are. So first of all, thank you for being here, and thank you for being such an amazing friend. I don't want to cry all over you, but I honestly don't.
Thank you for having me.
I don't know how I would have gotten through certainly the last 5 years without you. So you just are everything. Let's start by saying that you have this amazing son, and that but he probably knows him who watches the show. He is a gentleman. First and foremost, he's one of the most polite people on the face of the planet. But and I said before, people know him as an actor. He's a working actor. You guys have seen him on The Good Doctor and Lock and Key, and we can't wait. There he is, this beautiful, beautiful human being, and he's been here before. We can't wait to see season 3 of Lock and Key. We don't know when that's coming out yet, but I'm sure that you will tell us. But we wanted to talk with you about you and some of the things that you do, because you are an extraordinary human being. We're just going to start by talking about the gluten-free thing. Well, were you always gluten-free? When did this come into your life?
So Coby, who's going to be 20 this year, I can't believe that. I'm old enough to have a 20-year-old. That just doesn't seem right.
Well, you don't look like it either. So,
but when Coby was diagnosed, he was 4.5. And he had language delays, processing delays, all kinds of delays. And I read every book that I could read, tried to figure everything. I read something that talked about a gluten-free, casein-free diet, and I thought I'll try anything, whatever I can do to help move him forward and help him live his best life. And so at 5.5, I went on a website, found a kind of a recipe and different things that he could eat. At the time, he was only ate orange things, Cheetos. This sounds horrible, you guys, but when you have kids that only eat certain things, you just, so they eat. He ate Cheetos and macaroni and cheese and oranges and anything that was orange, no other colors, nothing else. And I got actually a list of foods that were gluten-free, casein-free. I didn't even know what casein was, which casein is the protein that's found in dairy. So when something says it's dairy-free, that doesn't necessarily mean it's casein-free. And so this is something I've learned over the last 15 years. And so I was like, okay, I have this list. I'm going to go to the grocery store. Ended up going to Trader Joe's with this printed out 20-page list highlighted. And I'm standing in the middle of Trader Joe's and I'm like, this thing is green, this thing is purple, this thing is nothing is orange. What is it? And I couldn't find anything on the list at first. And I just stood, I remember I was in the freezer section of Trader Joe's and I just started to cry. It was everything hit you, it was, is my son ever going to eat? Should I even do this? What am I doing? And someone from Trader Joe's, no idea, didn't even look at his name tag, knew he had a beard and his Aloha shirt, came over and said, ma'am, can I help you? Because here I am, this woman, standing in the middle of Trader Joe's bawling into my list. And I said, I list and autism and food and gluten-free and I don't know. And he said, okay, let's find some stuff on your list. So we did gluten first, and then a week later I did dairy elimination, and Coby's been gluten-free, dairy-free ever since. We saw it do tremendous things for him. I know it doesn't work for everybody, but I know that it worked for my child. And so he has been gluten-free, dairy, casein-free since he was 5.5. And even now, he's 19, he can eat whatever he wants. He knows how it makes him feel. And so I just started making things because at the time, now you can go to any grocery store and or most, I should say, where depending on, we live in LA, so you kind of have that gluten-free stuff, but it's a lot easier to go into a restaurant and go to a grocery store to purchase stuff. But I also like knowing what exactly is in the food, because we like whole foods and real foods and things that are that are grown on a vine, and grown, the outskirts of the grocery store.
Yes.
And so I like knowing the ingredients. I make my own nut milks and all that fun stuff. I just made strawberry milk this week, which was kind of lovely. Strawberry cashew milk. So I think I heard that someone asked grain free. There
Yes.
are things, if I know, like Shannon, there's nut issues in your family,
Yes.
which sounds kind of funny, but
Yeah.
there's nut issues in your family. But the one thing, Coby can have nuts, and so I do a lot of nut cooking, almond cooking, cashew, coconut. You can do grain free. There are a lot of grain free flours. There's things like tapioca flours and rice is a great. It just depends what you. But there are things if your child can do, or you as a person can do nuts. Yeah. So yeah, I just started.
Cashew milk is really good. I love cashew
It's
milk.
really good. That's what I used to make the strawberry milk.
Oh my goodness. Are you going to post things on your Instagram to show us the
I
strawberry
will.
milk?
I
Okay.
will. I've started. So it's small kitchen, big flavor, because I have a very small kitchen. But just because you have a small kitchen, even if you lived in like a bachelor or a studio and you have a hot plate, there is no reason that you can't cook amazing things. Like, you can find things with small ingredients, and I've learned with cooking, and I'm just a self-taught, chef, cook, whatever. I just like to cook because I like to eat, really. And the gluten-free is because I wanted Coby to be able to have what everybody else was having. At one point, we didn't eat out for 2 years ever, because what do you do? And when and Coby couldn't handle restaurants. It was very difficult for him. Still to this day, there are certain places that are harder for him sensory wise, with smells and lights and things. His sensory issues have really gotten to a different level recently. So he's okay in a lot of places, but there are places that one day we walked somewhere and he was like, Mom, I realized why I never liked going into a craft store. And I said, why? I had the pine cones that smelled like cinnamon. And he goes, that's what it smells like. And it was so overwhelming to him when he would walk into a craft store that he just didn't, he would shut down. And I found out why he didn't want to go into grocery stores with me is because we'd always go into the freezer section, and that was an over sensory issue for him. He would freeze. So we would go, 100 degrees in LA to go to the grocery store. And because I had no other choice to take him, because it
Yeah.
was just, I had to get there.
Yeah.
And I would put him in a huge parka. And then I realized, like, okay. And when he got old enough, anyway, so I was saying about, I tend to go off on things. I'm sorry, Shannon.
I love it. I love that about you, because it's all
Um,
fascinating. It's all
It is
good.
all fascinating. But yeah, so at one point we would go out and he could have a plain chicken breast and a plain potato. And I'd get a side of mayonnaise because he loved mayonnaise. And it was like, well, what's that? Now these days, chicken and plain potatoes. He's like, do I have to have a chicken breast? So I started cooking things. I started trying to find things. I found, a great chocolate chip cookie recipe that was made. Now I use Bob's Red Mill 1-for-1 flour, which if you're a baker and you want a good gluten-free flour, it is the best substitution for a flour. Thank you, Bob's Red Mill, because I can cook things, and I love almond flour, but just having something that you can cook, and I've learned along the way. I still haven't perfected bread making. I want to make a really good bread. I have some good breads, but I made rolls within the last year in COVID for Coby. I was like, let me try something. I made little rocks. I mean, so not everything's perfect in the small kitchen, big flavor. And Coby's my tester, and I know this summer, or actually last year, we were in Canada for a while. Coby was filming, and there were multiple people who were gluten-free, dairy-free, or gluten-free vegan, or different things like that. And I cooked things, and I said, okay, you guys have to taste test this to taste what it was. I made the Starbucks lemon loaf that is so good with the icing on top. And it's not always, fresh vegetables. You got to have a good balance of sweets with treats, and with your, vegetables and salmon and stuff like that. But I wanted people to taste it. And someone said, who was gluten-free, dairy-free, she hadn't had anything forever. She said, this tastes like the Starbucks lemon loaf. This is my favorite, and I haven't been able to have it. So I just want Coby to be able to have things that everybody else could have.
Absolutely. So is the recipe for the lemon loaf on Instagram?
I need to do it.
Okay.
I tended, that was my first try, and it came out so well. Coby ate the whole loaf in a day. So I need to start posting more. I kind of had stopped a little because I was focusing
Well,
on other stuff. So I
you get
need to,
busy. You have a big
Yes, I
life.
get busy.
Sarah is asking if you also have a Facebook page that you want to share because she doesn't do Instagram. Is that something? And Ka wants to know if you have a cookbook. Ka, I'm right with you that Rachael should have a cookbook. Thank you, Ka.
So, first, I do not have a cookbook, but I do post most of my recipes on my Instagram. And I don't have a Facebook. I should do that. That's a great idea, and maybe I will start that. Um, but what I could do too is, once I get something available, Shannon, maybe you can post it or something.
I
That way they
you know
know.
I will. I
Yeah.
will. I've been trying, I'm going to be unfair here and say I've been trying to coerce Rachael into doing a regular segment where she cooks something for us here on the show. So I'm still trying to strong arm her. Perhaps you could all help me to strong arm her as well. Ka also says, was the transition a hard process at first, changing Coby to gluten-free, casein-free? And can you say what you noticed in him after the diet change?
Sure. So for Kobe, he had very limited language. The words were one or two word sentences: red car, blue house, I want, different things. He wouldn't even say what he just I want, and he said words. Yeah, I understood the words. It's like your typical, he was 4.5, but you know how mothers understand their infants and toddlers when they're
Yeah.
using their language. I understood Kobe's words. That was his language. And I had signed with him. I stopped signing before the diagnosis because I thought he wasn't being verbal because I was signing with him all the time. I know ASL, and I was teaching him not baby signs. I was teaching him ASL and trying to get him to communicate. And when I started to see him change, when he was like 1.5, 2 years old, when I saw him start to regress, I was like, okay, maybe I'm signing too much to him. And so his 2 or 3 word sentences that he had when he was 5.5 when we started, within 2 weeks, we were driving down the road and I heard him say, "Mom, did you see that red car with 4 wheels and 4 doors? It's really red." And I was like, whoa. And I noticed a brain fog that kind of went away. And it's like, Kobe, a lot of people talk about a yeasty belly. You can also have a
Mhm.
yeasty brain, where it was like a brain fog for him. Sleep was always an issue for him. But I could tell when he would eat something, his behavior, his language, everything would really be affected. And now that he's older, he says he knows, he feels it. Even cross contamination. I mean, we're not the people that are like anaphylactic shock kind of thing, but we really try not to cross fry things. I've dedicated things. I mean, I don't have a fully gluten free home. I should, because I should eat exactly the way Kobe does. And I've really been working on that. For the most part, we're completely gluten and dairy, but like I had a different toaster, I had different pans, I had everything. Because I just saw the difference. I saw him start to come to life, I got to see parts of Kobe that I had never seen before.
Amazing. I want to show, we have a couple of pictures of some of the things that are on Small Kitchen Big Flavor right now, but then I want to talk a little bit about eating out. So Rachael, describe what we are seeing, this lusciousness, because your stuff always looks good too on the plate. You're good
Sure.
at
And
presentation.
I always think it's so easy. This is just like a normal lunch for me. It's just a lettuce. They have this butter lettuce, this living lettuce, and you can get lettuce. Take a turkey, a slice of turkey, or a slice of whatever luncheon meat you'd like. And then I actually, what the brown sauce is Trader Joe's bean dip, because it's got a little spice and it's super yummy. And
Uh-huh.
then just avocados and tomatoes and some fresh dill, and I think some green onion, and you just kind of either fold it like a taco or eat it like that. I do this with so many different things. You could do any combination of what you like. It's so easy. It's super yummy. So that's kind of just like a lettuce wrap
I love
or
it,
a
love it,
lettuce
love it.
taco.
And then show us another picture here, Traven. Okay,
That's my
guess what this is?
ratatouille.
And when Rachael said this to me, I was like, this is not like any ratatouille I have ever seen before in my life. So what am I seeing here, madam?
Okay, so actually what you can't see is at the bottom there is a layer that's about an inch of it's like tomatoes and garlic and spices that I cooked. I brought down, and then I processed it in the blender. Sorry with my words. And then
Okay.
you layer that on the bottom, and then you take.
I can't tell who we've lost. I can't hear Rachael anymore. Traven, are you able to hear me? We lost your audio, Rachael. Can you jiggle whatever your earbuds or whatever your connection is? That we had you and then we lost you, and I thought it was me that we lost. I don't know why we had you so well and then we lost you. I'm gonna let you guys try to figure that out. Maybe go out and come back in again because that's what worked before. I don't know what happened there. But isn't this amazing, you guys? Because this is part of it is that she makes everything look beautiful too. It tastes great. She's sort of the queen of spices and knowing what to do. But doesn't this look absolutely beautiful as well? All right, let's see if we've got her now. Rachel, you there? Say
Hi,
something.
can you hear
Oh, we
me
got you
now?
back. I don't know what
I'm
happened. I
so
don't know what
sorry. I don't know
happened.
what happened.
You were talking about the fact that there's the tomatoes that
Yes.
that you had tomatoes and garlic and I think you said onions and you processed it in the
Yes.
blender and then we lost you.
Oh, I'm
Okay.
so sorry. And then it's zucchini and tomatoes and eggplant. You slice them. You can use a mandolin. And then you slice them by hand really thin. You can see there's different consistency. And then you just kind of layer them. There's no rhyme or reason. You just kind of put it however you want. And then you go in layers around and around to the middle. And then you top it with some spices. And then I baked it in the pan like that. That's kind of the end after it's been baked. That's my ratatouille.
Is just absolutely beautiful. And I love ratatouille, but I've never made it in this way. I can't wait to try this. But there's another one I know that the ricotta pie, Traven, that I just think is stunningly beautiful. So here's an example of what it looks like on Small Kitchen Big Flavor. Talk about this ricotta pie and what this is.
Sure. So I actually was trying in COVID to find a dairy-free vegan. A lot of cheeses, you just have to find a vegan cheese,
Mhm.
and I couldn't find vegan cheese. And you actually said, "Oh, I've made vegan ricotta before," and so I found a recipe. I think you gave me a recipe, and this one I made. You take firm tofu and you take lemon and garlic powder and basil, and you blend that and nutritional yeast, and you blend that all up in a blender. Actually, no, I like the consistency with a fork better than a blender, and you get it all mixed up. And you can actually use that when you use the everything that you use in there. There's nothing that needs to be baked. It's nutritional yeast. It's the firm tofu. I think it's lemon and garlic powder and onion powder,
And
dried
salt, of
parsley
course.
and
Yeah.
salt, of course, salt and pepper.
Yeah.
And then you just use a fork and you mix it all together. And I'm really salt sensitive, so I actually don't use a lot of salt. I typically use more garlic and onion powder than salt because I am so sensitive and I like the flavor. And so that's something that's a lot in my cooking is a very low salt, if no. Typically, I don't put salt on anything. I use other spices and herbs to give it that flavor rather than the salt.
Yeah.
But you make that, you can actually use that vegan ricotta as a dip for chips or just eat it. But then you can mix it with eggs. I mixed it with eggs and some vegan Parmesan. And then I just used mandolin, or you can use a peeler, and you peel. You get the carrots that are the rainbow carrots that are the white, the orange, and the purple, and then you just slice those and you roll them, and then you just kind of that's a gluten-free, dairy-free, already made frozen crust pie. Look, I love to bake all day long, but sometimes a frozen crust, especially the fact that you can get them that are gluten-free, dairy-free,
Yeah.
are brilliant. So that is a frozen crust, and then you just put the mixture of the ricotta and the eggs, and then a little bit of pepper and some more spices in the bottom of the pie shell. And then as you just kind of use a peeler
That's
and you
me.
peel your carrots and things, it looks like so much work, but really when it comes down to it, it's not. It's a few small steps that you have to roll. I like to make things easy. I do make really hard things, and I always say, okay, this is a hard one. And then you just bake this at like 375. I like to do it 375 for like 30 minutes, and then the last 15 minutes turn it up to like 415. And it's so good. I did find a really good already made, because if someone's like, oh my gosh, I don't want to make homemade ricotta, I did find Kite Hill has a really good vegan ricotta. I just made the other day, I made a vegan ricotta pie like this, but I did small carrots peeled inside, and I did cut up little pieces of butternut squash and green onions and mix that all together and bake that. It's like a quiche slash pie. and it's so good.
You're just making me hungry. But I love this. It's so beautiful, and I love that you say that this is easy. I got to try this. And I must say, I don't make the cashew ricotta very often, but I was surprised at how easy it is.
So easy.
But Amanda says that she loves Kite Hill. Just had them this morning. And Amanda also says for the parents watching on the fence about going GFCF for their kids, you'll never know if you don't try. At least if you try,
Right.
you can say you did and move on. And I think that's true. But can we take just 1 second to say that if you're going to do gluten-free, casein-free, it's not something, if you're really going to give it a try, it's not something you dabble in. You can't be like, well, for breakfast and lunch we're going to go gluten free, but then we'll allow gluten at dinner and expect to see any kind of result. You really got to eliminate it all. And I always say to people, Rachael, you should give it a 6-month try,
Yep. Yep.
with no infractions,
Right.
6 months at a clip before you can really see if it's helping. It's not easy in the beginning, but it's so much easier than it used to be.
So much easier. Now you can get things that are prepackaged but are still healthy, that don't have all
Yeah.
the preservatives. There's, breads. We didn't have any
Oh,
of those things back then. And
no.
there's so many things between Sprouts and Whole Foods, and now even things like Ralph's and Vons, those kind of the chain grocery stores carry a lot of different options, pastas and breads, and now even with vegan cheeses, stuff like that. I mean, we didn't even
Yeah.
start using vegan cheeses until the last year or two because there just never was anything that we knew of. A boxed macaroni, cheese, stuff like that. That we didn't have the option.
Well, you took us to a restaurant that I think sort of blew our vegan cheese mind. I'm hoping that they in COVID they stopped doing what they were doing and went to a sort of burger pop up. But there's a place here in LA called Vegetable,
Oh my
and
gosh.
and Rachel took us there, and I think
I
it
love a
was
charcuterie. I love a
oh
charcuterie. I live on a charcuterie, a cheese and bread board. And then when you go with someone who's, vegan and gluten
oh
free, the breads, the
it's
cheeses, the spreads, everything you can think
it's
of.
it literally is to die for. And then of course they make a stuffed pumpkin that I know it's like, don't even get us started talking about that. But they also make all these, like I had a vegan lasagna there with the ricotta cheese and I was like, "Oh my gosh." And then they also have these cheesy potatoes that come out that have they're wonderful roasted potatoes, but they have this cheddar cheese over the top that's a cashew cheese. We lost our minds, and I can't wait for them to be all the way back online. But Ka says she's totally making the ricotta pie, tomato pie, so informative. So yeah, check out all the things that Rachael does there on.
And
Uh,
can I say something, Shannon?
yes,
If you have questions, just DM me. Just direct message me on Instagram if you have questions about stuff. I'm happy. That's why I started it. I used to put all my recipes. I would just, Instagram pictures, and people were like, "Will you start your own page?" And so that's
yeah,
why I did that. And I haven't been as active. I need to be more active, and I've started doing more. I need to post a lot more. I just did another ricotta pie, but there's so many things that it seems so scary and daunting when you're like, oh, I'm going to have to cook gluten free. But once you have the basics, you can make anything. And it's really, really, there sometimes are steps, but it's really simple. I like to, for myself, I always joke, I like to dumb things down for myself and I'm the queen of shortcuts. So whatever I could do easier. So, I don't want someone to have to be standing in the kitchen for 6 hours.
there
That's
you
not
go.
the point. The point is how to do it quickly and have really good food.
So let's take a second to talk about eating out and parties, because I think that this is one of the things that's, those two things together can be really hard. So how did you and how do you deal with eating out? And how did you deal with going to parties and when Coby went to parties and, that kind of stuff?
Sure. So one of the hardest things was eating out because especially back in the day, you'd say gluten-free, dairy-free, or they're gluten-free, or nobody understood Casey. And I said to someone once, I called a big chain place and said, do you have gluten-free? They said, yes. And I said, oh, so what are your options? There are a lot of places I do call first and you'd get yes. And I'd show up and I'd say, okay, so what are your options? They say, oh, it's a whole wheat tortilla. It's gluten-free. And I'm like,
No.
nope, that's not going to happen. So I've learned to say, so what are your gluten-free? A lot of times you can Google now and see, but even then you don't have the right information. So I like to call a restaurant before we go somewhere, and ask what your options are, how you cook it, if it's cross-contaminated. A lot of times, and that might seem like, a, a pain to ask, but you know what? It's so much better. There are a lot of places now that are dedicated gluten-free. They have it on their menus. They even have allergy-friendly menus. So, there's places here. We do live in LA, and there's places that are very specifically. There's Hugo's Restaurant, who we love, and they have a gluten-free, dairy-free, casein-free, all the things free, like a churro bun. And I remember the first time Coby can get fried pickles there, and he's like, we go to a restaurant, and everybody's got appetizers, and he would get so upset, and he'd just be like, oh, because he couldn't have anything,
Yeah.
right? And all he could have was his chicken breast and potato because he didn't eat anything green at the time. And so the first time we went to Hugo's and he could have appetizers, I got him onion rings and nachos and fried pickles. That sounds horrible, but he all he ate was appetizers. We found that out that there's happy hours, buy one get one free, and we would just go because he was like, I get to eat appetizers. So you find the places that you can go. One of the things that we did for a while because nobody understood is we had a card that printed out that we had that said gluten and dairy allergy because people didn't understand casein. And we'd say, these are the things he can't have. These are the things he can't have. Please come to the table and ask questions. And we had amazing chefs that would come to the tables. Reality is sometimes something would come and it would be covered with cheese, or it would be covered with gravy, or it would be covered in soy sauce, things that people don't think that have wheat in them. The second ingredient, it's water, soy, wheat in soy sauce. So things like that, that you don't think of that we all know, they don't realize. And Coby would look at me, and we'd always go to his favorite burger place, In-N-Out, and he gets just patties it's just plain patties with mustard fried and onions and all those things because he doesn't like a wrap. He just likes it by himself in a box. And he knew he could eat that. He can have the French fries there because they're not fried with anything else. Nothing else comes with In-N-Out stuff. So, there's nothing else. There's no onion rings or chicken nuggets or stuff like that. So you start to know the places you can go, and then you start to kind of feel your way out. Birthday parties were the hardest. Coby didn't get invited to many birthday parties, very few, to be honest. But even family parties and things like that, I would always call and say, what are you having? Okay, you're having pizza and chocolate cake. And I would make pizza, and I would make chocolate cupcakes, and I would bring them with me in little Tupperware containers. He had a bag of snacks with chips and everything that I could think of that he might have at the party. Sometimes I'd even ask, like, what are your party favors? And I would make a little bag that was his own party favor because he couldn't have those things. A lot of them were candies. A lot of them were things like that. So I'd make him his own because I wanted him to feel included. That was so important to me, that the parties or the places that we did go, that we would have to bring. I mean, everybody knew there's Rachael with her bag of Coby's food. And someone once asked me, I had laid his food out. We were at a family's house, and I said, okay, he really wanted fruit snacks, but I wanted him to eat other stuffers. So I said, you have to eat your apple, you have to eat your turkey, you have to eat your sandwich, and then you can have that. And the guy said, do you do that every time he eats? And I said, no, but there is you can do this, and that's the stuff that I did for him. And I was like, because he wanted, if I would have let him eat fruit snacks all day, that's all he would have eaten.
Yeah.
So was very much, getting him to be able to be involved and included and eat the things that were like everybody else's.
We have so much more that we wanted to talk about, and we're totally out of time. But I just want to say, briefly that my son had never been to a party and had the birthday cake until he came to your son's birthday party. And it was life-changing for us that he came running up to me and he's like, Mom, I think I might be able to have the cake. And I was like, oh, honey, you can't. And he was like, no. Is there a picture of Traven, can you show the picture of Jem and Coby together? They had just met like 2 weeks before this, and this was taken at that birthday party. Look at their
Look
baby
at
faces.
them,
And
little nuggets.
but Jem came running up and said to me, no, his mom says that it's gluten free and dairy free, and she just called to make sure that it's almond free too. And I was like, what is this
Yeah.
woman? I have to be her best friend. Right. And it was life-changing for us that day. that he got to have that experience, that they got to become friends, but you and I got to become friends. And so we just have to have you back, because we didn't even get to start talking about all your crafts and and your passion for Disney. Did everybody
Oh,
notice
can you tell?
did everybody notice the hidden Mickey in the ricotta pie?
Oh, yes,
Um,
yes.
Go on Instagram and look at it and see there's a hidden Mickey in the ricotta pie, because Rachael loves all things Disney, as she should. So she was gonna wear her Mickey ears and then decided not to, and I wish she had. Um, but we
Next time.
officially next time we are officially out of time. But if you want to stay, I'm going to go through, because there was a question and a comment that has just come in that I want to make sure that I get to, that Emily had written in. And I know, Emily, you wrote in yesterday too, and she says that she was just diagnosed with Asperger's. And what shall I do after a new diagnosis? And I'm going to tell you that we have a whole bunch of videos that will be of interest to you, Emily, and that are from people that are adults that are on the spectrum, that many of them identify themselves as being, have gotten an Asperger diagnosis earlier in life. I think those will be interesting to you. But I also want to encourage you to head over to our friend Alex Plank's website, which is wrongplanet.net. And what you are going to find there is a community of people who are going to understand what you're going through right now. And perhaps you can find a mentor there who will help you, because it's different for everyone. The truth is that if you get a diagnosis as an adult, if you're able to write in and say, I just got my Asperger diagnosis, if you have the skill to be able to write in and tell us that you got that diagnosis, then that means you've got a lot of skills. And that there are probably some things that you might want some help or support, or to understand part of what, what is going on for you. And so I really want to encourage you to be talking to other people until you find people who understand exactly what it is that you're going for, and that you have a good mentor who will tell you you're perfectly okay and you're going to be okay. And as with all of us in life, there are probably some things that are challenging for you. And if you want to take them on, there's a way to do that, to help yourself, not to fit in, not to fit in. We're not talking about you changing who you are so that you fit in. But for any of us, if I go to a place and I don't know what the rules are and I can't access it, that's frustrating. If somebody tells me these are what the rules are, then I can decide, do I want to do this so that I can get, accomplish the thing that I want to accomplish. There will be people to help you to navigate that and what it feels like. Because it's a big moment in your life. So wrongplanet.net. But I also want to say that Big Cup of Red KoolAid is back with us today. I love that you were with us yesterday. But I see what you've written in, that you say, I have autism and it really sucks for me. And I want to say to you that I'm going to challenge you a little bit to be specific, because I think what you're going to find when you get some people who love you the way that you need to be loved is that it is not your autism that sucks. It's sometimes people's reaction when they don't know. And that I think that there is help and support for you, but I'm not saying that your experience of it is wrong, because I'm sure that it does feel like that. Whenever we feel like we've been put in a corner and told you're different so you don't qualify for X, that can't possibly feel good. But I'm here to tell you that there's a whole community, and I want to encourage you also, Big Cup of Red KoolAid, head on over to wrongplanet.net. And see the kinds of things that they have there. Get involved in their forum. Talk to some of the people there, because there will be people who have walked in your shoes and who have felt exactly the way you did, that are at a point where they are happy and leading really productive lives. And I want you to feel that. Anything you want to add, Rachael? Because to these two
No,
people.
I'm just so thankful to be here. And I want to tell people that I know with my own son, there are days that he has a really hard time socially, um, sensory wise, anxiety. And it's finding people to tap into, whether it be one person. I'm his person. or reaching out, just by reaching out, is it Big Cup of Red KoolAid?
Yep.
Just by reaching out and saying something in the chat is you saying, I need help. So it's tapping in and going to Wrong Planet and going to the places and trying to find what you can to move forward. And we do have bad days, and it's the hardest thing not to live in that, but to move through that moment and find your community.
Yeah. And know that it's what I was trying to say before, and I don't know that I said it right, but what I want you to know is there's nothing wrong with you.
No.
And the part of it that's sucking for you, it's not, there's nothing wrong with you. The part that's sucking for you has to do with other people. And if we can find a way for you to get to people that get it, and help for the people that are around you that get it, then I think that there's nothing to suck here. Is what I think you'll find. So anyway, we're totally out of time, but Rachael, let me say it again. I just love you. You are such a gift to so many of us. Please head over to her Small Kitchen, Big Flavor. Take a look at the things that she's posting there, but also check out her crafts on Some Imagination Creations. I don't want to say that you're a crafter. You're a maker. Is that correct?
I'm a maker, correct.
She is a maker. She makes amazing things. And if you have something custom that you need made, she's brilliant. So in any case, we're totally out of time. I do want to say that tomorrow on the show, Let's Talk Autism with Shannon and Nancy, we've got some incredible in the news, two ladies who have started an incredible group for teenagers and adults on the spectrum that you're going to want to hear their amazing story. And then we're featuring in our Autism Family Portraits, Becky Estep, who is really lovely. So please make sure that you tune in. Big Cup of Red KoolAid, I see what you say. I literally feel like an alien. People think I'm crazy or mentally ill, but I'm not. I can do everything with everybody else can do and better. I could do things better than normal people can. And I don't doubt that for a second. And ironically, that's why I'm sending you over to Wrong Planet. Is Alex Plank, when he was 17 years old, started that website because that's exactly what he said he felt like. He felt like he'd been born on the wrong planet. That there was nothing wrong with him, but he was on the wrong planet with people who didn't get him. And what he did was he created a place where people went, oh man, I get you. I'm totally right there with you. And I think you'll find your community there. So please go over to wrongplanet.net. We love Alex, and we love what he's created over there. And please check out some of the interviews that we've done with people who are actually autistic, who are adults, to hear what they say, so that you understand that you are not alone. And that there are many of us who are not on the spectrum. There's a whole community of people who love individuals on the spectrum. And so we're there for you. We're allies. Thanks for watching Autism Live. If you found anything helpful in this video, please give us a like. In fact, make sure that you smash that subscribe button on YouTube and give us a like on Facebook. You can also follow us on Twitter and Instagram for important updates. And please download our free podcast wherever you get your podcasts. See you next time. Until then, give your kiddos a hug from me and one for you too. Bye-bye for now. To subscribe, click here. And if you'd like to check out some more of our videos, click here.